Hello everyone and welcome back to continued coverage of the iRacing IndyCar series here live on a Monday night, the first race of a brand new week on the iRacing.com service. That of course means the strength of field race and the championship points are on offer. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, alongside for today's action is Lorenzo Bonder. We've got TV cameras brought to us by Istvan Ballo and TrackCams22.com. Additional car cameras provided by RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxon. You can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading on over to Timing 71 using the link racespot.wtf/Indy and using the world-class suite of data analysis tools powered over there. Lorenzo, delighted to be back here for the first race of a new week and a championship that very much lies in the balance. Take a look at the schedule, just about to reach the halfway point here at the Milwaukee Mile. Two oval races as well, slightly unusual, but Milwaukee and Texas, it's going to be very tough to pass, and qualifying is going to be very important.
Yeah, qualifying is going to be key for you to actually get a good position down on the track. Then everything else relies on saving the tires. You got to save those tires for you to be efficient and survive in this race. But then you said it's a double header of ovals. We had a double header of road in the previous 2 weeks. So this next series should be a very exciting one if you're trying to fight for the championship standings at the end of the season.
And I do like the run that we're on as well. Texas, 2 trips to within the Lone Star State. First the Oval, then the Circuit of the Americas. Then, of course, we start our pilgrimage to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Atlanta Motor Speedway as well thrown in there in between those 2 trips to the Brickyard. And then finish it off on the streets of Belle Isle. Only a minute left in qualifying, so let's quickly take a look at these championship standings. It is Henry Bennett that has a just over 100-point advantage over Adam Blocker. The gap is coming down, though, but the question, of course, does remain with Blocker having those real-world commitments in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the month of May coming up here, Lorenzo. Bennett is in a prime position to take his 6th championship here in this season.
Absolutely, but the problem is Adam Blocker is going to be a figure to be actually seen in this race, because so far he's done better than Henry Bennett in this qualifying session. You know, and you said it, passing in this qualifying, it's very hard. There are not many spots. You have to be kind of courageous to make the move on turn 1 or turn 3. But then again, so far Henry Bennett still with a good cushion as we go into week 6.
And some interesting points situations as well. You can see Liam Quinn and Andrew Marquez. They got a very close scrap for 3rd, but of course Brian Carey, Brendan Lichtenberg, the list goes on, and Andrew Wood, who sits in 7th in these championship standings in our YouTube chat tonight, says his best chance of a podium this season. Unfortunately not around here today. 10 seconds left in qualifying. We're moments away then from going trackside for the 6th time this season and taking a look at the starting grid. Qualifying's done, 150 laps, 150 miles at one of the oldest ovals, not just in America but across the globe. Let's go take a look at our starting grid here today. On pole position in the pink and black, it's Philip Kraus in the number 3 at 21.640. He shares the front row with Brendan Lichtenberg for Team I5G. Just 0.04 of a second separating those 2 drivers. Adrian Pinheiro in the number 1 car inside of row number 3. Adam Crane, the iRacing IndyCar Series champion, completes row number 2. Adam Blocker looking to regain his championship. He starts then in 5th position. Alongside him, Austin Espety in the number 7 car. Andrew Marquez for Loose Nut Racing. He starts back in 7th with Chris Wilhite back on a Monday night. Great to see Ohio's own completing row number 4. Matt Hollowbo inside of row 5 with Robin Glennox rounding out the top 10. Henry Bennett, championship leader. Disappointing qualifying there for the Powerslide Motorsports driver. Lots of work for him to do. Alongside will be Eric Hunter rounding out row number 6. Tyler Dubosch 13th, Laura Gerhardt 14th, Alexis Newsom, championship leader in the Lionheart Speedway Series, starts back in 15th, and a number of cars not setting qualifying times. Jason Brophy, Alexander Van der Sent, Diego Pereno, and then the final row of the grid here today, Arturo Amro and Joe Lafilippe. Should be a fun one, Lorenzo. 20 cars is a relatively small grid, but it does mean we might get away with some less cautions here. And at the end of the day, 150 laps with the lap times that you have at a small track like this, if you get long green flag runs, the race really does fly on by.
Yeah, it does fly on by. I was taking a look at Brendan Traino's Apex Racing setup this week. He just did 29 laps, 30 laps in his stint, and basically that is half of his stint. So if they go green flag all the way for a stint, we could actually see a one-stopper in this race just due to strategy alone.
I did hear that as well from some of the community members as the cars roll here at the Milwaukee Mile. As mentioned, one of the oldest speedways in operation. It started as a dirt racing facility, only became paved with asphalt back in, I believe it was 1954, but it's tight. It's relatively tight. You can run multiple lines. Let's see how many different lines with an open setup and in-car tools at their disposal drivers can do. 150 laps. We'll reach the halfway point after this one, and it's been Henry Bennett that's made his way to the front of this championship with consistency. But at the front of this field, it's Philip Kraus, Brendan Lichtenberg, and we're about to get underway for 150 miles here from the Milwaukee Mile. Should be a very exciting race. A safety car about to pull down onto the safety of pit road. You can see it's an interesting pit entry. Something to keep in mind for green flag stops. Barney the flagman though waves that green flag and we get underway, and already you can see it's a challenge for Lichtenberg down into turn 2. He tries to cut off the nose of the number 1 machine, just about manages to hold on. So you see some side-by-side action throughout the entire field, but they streak their way down the back straightaway, and here comes Lichtenberg for the race lead, but Philip Kraus shuts the door on him, Lorenzo.
Yeah, and Adam Crane with a really good start, just launching himself all the way down from P number 5 and now challenging for P number 3 as he makes the move inside down Adriano Pinheiro.
You can see he's trying to make it stick as Austin Espety all over the rear wing right now of Adam Blocker. Let's jump on board with the Team Talent driver. Oh, as you see Crane jerking to the inside, trying to make it work. A dirty air, very much the name of the game, as Espety is going to try and make this one work down the inside. Momentum on the side of Adam Blocker, but Espety makes this one. Oh, he gets all the way to the inside apron. Can he hold on to it? No, he just about does. Look at the car streaking around him, Lorenzo.
Yeah, good car control from Austin Espety, but the thing is, now you burned up a little bit of the rubber that you really want to be having towards the latter portions of this race. You're going to probably have to adjust the weight jackers in the anti-roll bars so you can actually manage the car and then be hold out the entire heat again.
Oh, Crane! Same thing just happened to Adam Crane. I wonder if these cars are very aggressive on the in-car tools right now. Crane just about able to hold on to that one. But I think we've got to go take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay here, Lorenzo, because when you see not one car have that kind of an incident, but 2 cars, definitely something just to consider. Look at the side-by-side action between Lichtenberg and Pinheiro, though, down in towards turn 3. And I don't think it's coming through this corner. I think it's through the next 1 and 2 complex.
Yeah, as we're looking down Crane on the inside of Adriano Pinheiro as they go into turn number 1, and what might have happened is that the aggressiveness of trying to turn itself and just stick to the inside line of turn number 1 might have made Adam Crane car slide, and he dropped about 4 spots back.
Yeah, he's down in 8th position right now. Not ideal, but works the inside now of Chris Wilhite in the purple and black. Nothing doing there, as you see behind Alexander Van der Sant, who will be back in action on RaceSpotTV in just a couple of hours' time in that Lionheart Speedway Series race. Works side by side with Matt Hollowbo. You can see Crane back trying to get to the inside of Wilhite, but nothing doing there. At the front though, Lorenzo, 1.7 seconds clear is Philip Kraus. You can see Brendan Lichtenberg, lots of pressure being applied from Pinheiro in the number 1 machine, but Blocker and Espety are very much falling off the pace right now.
Yeah, they're both falling off the pace, even though Adam Blocker is trying. Last lap to 22.4 for Adam Blocker. In the meanwhile, Adriano did a 22.3, just sticking into Brendan Lichtenberg's rear wing. The thing is here is going to be key is how aggressive you want to be on the tires, because other than that, your tire is going to be dead shot towards the latter portion of the stint, and you're going to probably have to tuck down into pit lane for a possible undercut, and that might not work.
And if we were talking about it, Lorenzo, if drivers can do this on a one-stop strategy, that very much opens the door, I think, if we get some cautions for some interesting approaches to how drivers decide to take this. This is, by the way, battle on the edge of the top 10 between Henry Bennett and Eric Hunter in the 17 machine as something happened to Jason Brophy. He's slid down into 20th position. That might be some sort of technical failure there, Lorenzo.
Yeah, looking at Brophy over here as he goes into turn number 1, and then the car just phases out. Unfortunately, internet problems for Jason Brophy, and he had to take back into the pit lane.
That's a shame then. He was trying to work his way up through the field, but it would appear that day done then for the private label Team Hype driver, the number 6, Dallara IR18, working lap 11 of 150. This is all the way back in 17th and 18th position. Joe Lafilippe and Diego Pereneno are squabbling here, but further up front, you can see these are where the gaps start to extend. Adam Crane has managed to get on past Chris Wilhite, but now 0.8 of a second adrift from Marquez. I wonder what that car must be feeling like right now, Lorenzo, because you've heated up the tires, and at a track like this, there's only so much respite that they're really going to get.
Yeah, it's going to be quite complicated, especially that front right. The front right is going to be screaming, and I mean literally screaming at the end of the mid portion of the stint, the first half of the stint, and then you're probably going to have to manage through the rears. So it's going to be very interesting, as I saw Andrew Marquez trying to be a little bit more aggressive, and Austin Espedy out of 3 and 4.
Yeah, he just tries to look to the inside, but Espedy cuts him off and then gets the momentum as well. And it does kind of separate them from Adam Blocker. Great aerial look here that we get at this track, and relatively flat in terms of the banking, Lorenzo. I think it's about 2 degrees on the straightaways and then only 9 degrees in the corners. So you can see cars really fanning out, but right now with the level of downforce that the cars seem to have, it seems to be fairly easy to just stick down on the inside and make it work.
It's quite complicated. I was taking a look, and if you really want to try to go for the outside, you basically have no grip, and you basically lose around 0.4 of a second in the lap just because you're trying to go for the outside line of 1 and 2. 3 and 4, you might lose a little bit of time, but it's going to be way less in the first few turns as Andrew Marquez tried to go for the move, and Austin Espedy once again, and just couldn't capitalize.
Yeah, that's squabbling. By the way, Eric Hunter has gone on past Henry Bennett, who's not really enjoying this race so far. Not the best of qualifying positions, and Bennett has not improved on that just yet. Alexander Van der Sant, the next car that will be trying to get the move done, but 17 laps done here, Lorenzo, and already traffic is going to start to be a factor in the mind of Philip Kraus. We saw this at the now I'm trying to remember the schedule for the rest of this season. Twin Ring Motegi, of course, when Jason Brophy won. A big lead for Kraus right now, 2.3 seconds clear. And Arturo Amro in the number 18 car is 14 seconds adrift from the race leader. So in give or take about 7 laps time, Kraus is going to be right on the tail end of this pack right now.
It's going to be quite interesting because Arturo is actually pushing that car, and if he does, he's going to be the guy that gets the wave around if we ever get a yellow flag. By the way, talking about Jason Brophy, he's back on track even though he is 6 laps behind. And
I do see the infamous throughput fell to unacceptable levels, Lorenzo. So whatever it was technical in nature, and now 6 laps down is Brophy. But now just the testing experience, and there's many more races to come during the week, and championship points can be accumulated. Let's check in with the battle, by the way. Oh, look at that. Side by side is Alexis Newsom and Tyler Dubois. Dubois has just got the move done on the Lionheart Speedway's Series Championship leader. More familiar, I think, with the Dallara DW12 of recent. But on board, let's jump with the number 11 car. And some of the good things that have come to the iRacing service just aren't the new tire model and the new damage model that, of course, have really made this a much more interesting, dynamic car to drive, if you ask me, Lorenzo. But of course, the addition of the different license levels being used on this competition. So road courses, you use your road level and your iRating and all of that. And then on the ovals, you get people like Alexis Newsom, 4,100 oval iRating, and not someone that we see on a Monday, though, on a road course. Yeah, unfortunately, he basically would be into the latter, but into the tail end of the road course challenges that probably we're going to get down in this season. Especially, we still have about three or four
at least 3 more tracks in this season that are road, and then 3 more ovals after that. But it's gonna be quite interesting to see how well can Newsom perform in this race, because it is those golden opportunities.
It's kind of getting a bit more stagnant right now. Left side of your screen, let's show you the various intervals, so the gaps between each of the cars. And you can see we're looking at one of the closest battles. Adam Crane caught back up to the team talent driver of Austin Espety. And unfortunately, Jacob, no, I am not commentating and standing up today. Unfortunately, when I'm controlling the buttons as well, becomes a little bit difficult to do that, but it's always fun to be able and go full hype beast mode, as it were. Don't necessarily think this will be the type of race for that, but Lorenzo, past weekend, the NTT IndyCar Series obviously returned to not just the iRacing service, but the real world as well from the Barber Motorsports Park. And if you weren't necessarily convinced that iRacing is relatively realistic, I think if you had shown someone lap number 1 and a certain incident that took place there with the former NTT IndyCar champion Joseph Newgarden, you might be forgiven for thinking it was an iRacing clip as well.
Yeah, you might be thinking, oh, the grass is going to mean nothing. It's basically just another set of asphalt. You're completely wrong. You know, Newgarden just caused a massive crash, multiple cars involved. And just to see how tricky, you know, driving in real life is, you know. Again, we mentioned that grass is lava, right? So basically it applied in the real life as well.
And that was a rather monumental one. It was an interesting experience, and I think definitely set the tone for the rest of the race. 90 laps. It's a long race at Barber. A strategy at the forefront is Alex Palau, depending on how you say his name.
I think isn't it Palou?
I always say it wrong, and that's why. So no matter how I say it, I tend to say it wrong. But the thing that I was going to say, Lorenzo, over the last 12 months, he's become a very experienced iRacer, part of the Team Fordzilla outfit as well.
Yeah, and just about right around the 7.3K, if I recall correctly.
7.3?
Yeah, I was like watching a few races from a few streamers down in Hot. They were doing GT3 at Hockenheim, and Alex Palau was actually in there. And I was looking at his iRating, and let me tell you, I strongly would make a case that he might be one of the top 50 fastest drivers in iRacing right now. iRacers right now, because the guy is literally a demon on wheels. It's not even a joke.
Well, 7,000 iRating puts him in Max Verstappen territory, does it not?
It does. I think Max is about 8K, 7.8K, and I think the highest driver, real life driver, I think is Ian Guven at 8.4K. So he's right around there, like top 10 highest real life drivers.
Of course, Guven, who needed to have the iRating for the Porsche Tacor Esports Super Cup, the final round of that forthcoming from Monza, the championship coronation for a certain Josh Rogers, as we ride on board with Andrew Marquez, who's tailing and really reeling in as well. Adam Blocker in the number 4 machine, stuck in 4th position as well. Up 1 position on the day, courtesy of the big slide that we saw from Adam Crane. A great car control on display, not just from Crane, but from Espety as well, to avoid getting down below the apron and causing chaos. I must say, I'm a bit intrigued here, Lorenzo, at just how much Marquez is following Blocker rather than trying something different. We always talk about the importance of clean air, but right now it's not like Marquez is finding much.
No, he's not. Lap by lap by lap. Just taking a quick look here. Last lap was 22.9 and 23.0 for Blocker and 22.9 for Marquez. So if you're talking about gains, it is marginal gains, and it goes up and down by the lap. So Marquez now is trying to be a little bit more aggressive, trying to get closer to Blocker. But then again, how bad you really want to commit to those tires and make those moves?
And I mean, we're about halfway through a potential fuel window here as well, if you consider that you might try and one-stop this.
We're over halfway. Yeah. We're over that. We're starting the second half.
The thing here, Lorenzo, is I always think that you want to try and just leave it as late as possible, because if you have a caution that comes out, right, you could play the tire strategy here, and you might not actually need to come in. Curious how that's going to work out, but the one thing I know is traffic is starting to be a factor for the race leader. Hasn't really brought in Brendan Lichtenberg too much. Last time around, it was a 0.5 of a second between Kraus and Lichtenberg, but down the inside, the pink and black machine goes on Arturo Amro, who now drops 1 lap down, 18th position. Let's see how these cars can really carve their way through the traffic, Lorenzo.
Yeah, because right now I think the next car who's going to be reached will be Brendan Lichtenberg, as he's soon to reach Diego. He reached already Diego Parreño. Next car in line is Laura Gerhardt for Philip Kraus, as Laura is about to exit turn number 4 and Kraus is on 3. So far they're doing clean work. No major drama for all the overlaps.
Nice little battle here between Alexis Newsom and Joe Lafilippe. Lafilippe, who started all the way at the tail end of the field, up 5 positions on the day. Seems to have a very comfortable race car. It rockets out of turn 4. Look at the different lines being taken there, and the confidence that 20 car has, just much more able to use and rely on the tires underneath him at this point in the run. And Newsom, 16th position. See what she can do from there. Back to Blocker and Marquez, because working their way past Parreño, I think that's enabled Marquez to close the gap very slightly, but not in a position, Lorenzo, to really do anything with this.
No, not at all. He's going to be quite close, I think, on striking distance towards the end of the start-finish line, then headed into 1. And then it all depends on how aggressive is going to be Marquez on exit, not even entry. Try to get closer to Blocker, but and again the arrow push just pushes him back about 0.2 of a second, and he has to restart all over again.
It's a tough track to come at race at, that's for sure, but you also wonder if maybe some fuel saving. Look at the pitch as well. You can kind of get in. Let's jump on board with Adam Blocker from this wonderful little shot that we get here, because he's cutting all the way down to the inside, Lorenzo, and watch it how straight his hands are before he's even actually fully come out of the corner. This is a car that's very much balanced, riding around on the right rear right now, and you can really tell that by the steering inputs from the number 4 car.
Yeah, I was taking a look at the notes from Brendan Traino. You have to be very smooth with the corner entry. You know, you just cannot be overly aggressive. You're gonna kill the front right. You might have to do some counter swinging. Just let the car, the grip, do its tail of the job, do its job. You know, and that's what Adam Blocker is doing very cleanly.
On board with Tyler Dubois, riding right behind Matt Holloway in the number 12 car. These guys have very much been enjoying a back-and-forth fight, but trying to close in on Henry Bennett in 12th position. Bennett, who has slipped away from Eric Hunter in front. Hunter has been passed by Alexander Van der Sant. Van der Sant is on the charge of his own, as you see. Tyler Dubois trying to get the run into turn 3. Doesn't commit to it, but you can see just ahead of them, coming down across the start-finish line. There's Van der Sant slinging it down the inside of Robin Glenix as they work side by side. I don't think Van der Sant can make this one work, but he's going to prove me wrong. Hold on to it, Lorenzo, and through turn 3, should get the move done now.
Yeah, seal the deal for Van der Sant. Unglenix actually try to go for the launch on the exit of turn number 4, but there isn't too much room for you to work with. It's a little bit wider than the exit of 2, but it just doesn't work for the number 15 car. I think the tires might be a little more killed than what the number 14 is in, but then again, those options, right, the weight jackers and the anti-roll bars might have been working more in the favor of the number 14 of Van der Sant.
So Adam Crane has slipped on past Espety as we jump on board with Chris Wilhite in the purple and black. Oh, poor run through the corner for Espety. Wilhite will try and take advantage. That traffic will effectively work as dirty air to Espety, who really throws it down into the corner. I think Espety, though, saw the signs coming with the lap traffic, has to tuck back into line. Here comes Van der Sant, though, to try and take advantage of the situation. And this is where you see who's got the better long-run car, Lorenzo, who's been able to work the adaptability into their setup, because Van der Sant looks like he's got a rocket ship.
Hey, he's got a rocket ship towards the latter portion. 48 laps in the car. The car is already getting light. So, and you can see Aspity just lighting up in turn number 4, and Van de Sande is going to take the opportunity and move up to P8.
Yeah, that was pretty easy as well, and Espity now down 3 positions on the day. Van de Sande up 9 positions on the day. What a charge for him. Up into 8th position. What can he do from there? Wonderful shot, I must say, that we get here from the top of the grandstands, and sight of what I'm sure lots of fans will be hoping to see post the end of this year, potentially, when fans can get back to motorsports in action. Tyler Dubois down the inside of Henry Bennett in the British Racing Green Dallara IR18. And it's not been a good day for Henry Bennett then here, Lorenzo, but it's an interesting kind of a week for, I think, a lot of people, because you've got various private leagues that are, of course, always going on. You've got this competition, of course, on a Monday night. We have the main strength of field race, and you also have the iRacing IndyCar series, which returned last week, round 2 this coming week as well from the Sebring International Raceway. Lots of different things for drivers to be putting their attention towards.
Yeah, lots of things, and don't forget about Lionheart as well, and you still have the preparation for the 500. I think they had Indy Elite not too long ago. I think that was last week they actually had, so you might have taken time to concentration to try to do a setup that fits the short oval. So it's those preparations. You got to manage the calendar properly, right, in your schedule accordingly. And I think Bennett said that he kind of struggles on the short ovals. I don't remember he actually said that on the when we actually talked to him last week.
Oh, pit stops.
But go ahead.
Espity down on pit road. Sorry, Lorenzo. This is a very interesting strategy, splitting the race into thirds, but at a track like this, you spend so long on pit road relative to the speed of a lap that you go at least 1 lap down. And from the position that Espity found himself in, he'll find himself in danger of going 2 laps down. Oh, he's got a long pit stop. I wonder if he's actually hit the wall here, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I'm just going back on the replay and try to take a look and see if Espity has hit the wall. I know he had a little bit of a few scraps up and down the field.
Should get a good look here. Jumps back about a minute in time. All looks okay here coming through turn 2. Steering is fine. Car seems up to speed as well. A little bit of a slide coming in through turn 3. And no, he's already, in fact, off the speed coming down onto pit road. Let's pull it back even further, Lorenzo, and see if we can figure this one out.
Hold on, I want to check the entry of Austin Espity. Oh, this changes things. He actually came in really hot into the pit lane. I think he might have got a pretty.
Ah, okay. I tell you what, let's jump forward effectively in the replay then, and find Espity's entry down onto pit road. Here will be a better look. And the cones have already been passed, and oh, he's locked it up. You're right, Lorenzo. That's what explains the long stop, and he spends a total of 50 seconds on pit road. Basically, perfectly aligns with a speeding penalty. So, Espity then, unfortunate there. I still wonder why he came down onto pit road. The only thing I can really think to explain it, Lorenzo, is he's trying a three-stop strategy, excuse me, and to split this race in thirds when we've already talked about drivers can do this effectively on the 1-stop.
Is he? I'm starting to think, is he counting on the yellow flag? Was he counting on the yellow flag? Of course, penalty removed on the yellow flag towards the latter portion of the race and maybe trying to benefit from it, you know, be in the lead and work a different strategy, you know. We've talked about this to restart the race. You know, some of the strategies, you can go for a 1-stop, and 2 stops was actually not out of the window.
But that's not a 2-stop strategy anymore, is it? So you stop on lap 50, you stop on lap 100, you stop on lap 150. Oh no, it's a 2-stop strategy. I'm just failing to math today. I apologize
and
there.
And he spins. Espity's spin is on the exit of turn number 2, yellow flag.
Oh, that's a big one. Contact made with who was that car?
I think Arturo Amro looks like it.
Nowhere to go. Caution flies for the first time today on lap 61. It was a very clean run so far. And my word, that changes things. Straight to the replay machine. and the car just pitches around. We've seen that before. Aerial look at what happens now. It is Amro as well. Good spot there, Lorenzo. Let's jump a little bit further back and take a look at his onboard. Nothing that the number 18 car could really do to avoid this one.
No, absolutely not. You just see the car coming in. It's kind of stuck in halfway across from Espedy, and he did his best actually to give props to Arturo Amro. But the problem is, you know, the nose was just in front of him, and the car up this lane just decides to understeer a little bit.
And the new smoke as well is so thick, so difficult at times to see through that it can be a very big factor. The big factor at play, though, is pit stops. This doesn't necessarily mean everyone is going to be able to get to the end. Is there a change? Oh, it's close between Lichtenberg and the number 1 car, but I think the Hyperstar cycles out, still in second. And I say still in second. It's net second position here, Lorenzo, because Alexis Newsom has taken a very large gamble to stay out on track right now.
Yeah, 62 laps on the sim for Newsom. We know her tires are shot. It's just so she's not gonna be able to defend anything whatsoever from the pack whenever we get actually a proper green flag. But she come down into the pit lane anytime, so that pit lane is still open.
Is she gonna do it? Doesn't look like it. Amro comes down. Pereno comes down as well. First caution of the day. It took a while, and an interesting incident there, Lorenzo. And I must say that we've seen some good wheel-to-wheel action between these drivers. It's just very difficult for cars to actually get alongside and make something stick here.
Yeah, because you don't have a lot of room in them. Don't have also a lot of grip to work right side by side through those turns. I think the banking also doesn't help one bit in terms of battling for these open wheel cars. I think NASCAR might be a little bit of a different case. For the Indy cars, it is not the case whatsoever. If you have the inside line, you're probably going to have a little bit advantage. But I think in Espedy case, I don't know if that might be related to the weight jackers and the anti-roll bar and his car is in-car settings that might have made the car a little bit oversteery towards the latter portion of the curve, and that's what made the car lose control.
This time around, does Newsom come down? Yes, she does. Interesting call. I wonder if the plan here, Lorenzo, was just wait till the last lap possible, get the fuel filled up, and cycle through on strategy. So everyone has to pit. And I think cool guy number 3, and I believe I know which Canadian that is in our YouTube chat, has had the same thought as well. It's a really good strategy because everyone is going to require another pit stop. She's going to require the least fuel. This is how she won her first Lionheart race as well at the Texas Motor Speedway. So she's made this work before. She's won here 1 week ago in the DW12. I like this call from her.
This is an interesting call. You know, there's that famous quote, right? It's about. Damn it, I forgot actually. It's a bold choice. Caught, let's see if it is out. So, you know, let's see if it works. That we might get another yellow flag. All lined up on the outside for the restart.
So, of course, pace car will have that rather long run down until it can pull down into the safety of pit road. Philip Kraus back at the front of your field, and we get back underway. It was a swap for second, by the way. The number 1 car cycled through on Brendan Lichtenberg. Let's see what Pinheiro can do then as we come back to green flag racing. Already looking very feisty down the back straightaway into turn 3. Nothing doing then, and it might be a bit of an attrition battle. Kraus, though, not the best on cold tires. What can Pinheiro do into turn 1, Lorenzo? And takes a look, and once more thinks a bit better of it.
Yeah, tries to work a little bit of wide line, the entry of 1, and then midway through 2 goes for a more launched line, so you can get actually a better acceleration speed, but cannot get close to Philip Kraus. Philip Kraus actually doing some really good lines in keeping that car, the number 1 at bay.
You can see battle for third, though. This restart has shuffled the pack up as Marquez down to the inside of Adam Blocker. Doesn't commit to it, but opening the door for a number of cars to make things work. Back in the pack, Tyler Dubois, Matt Hollowbo side by side on the edge of the top 10, and they're still side by side. Henry Bennett with a great view of the action. And Hollowbo will get the position up into 9th as well. Great run there. He's up In fact, not up on the day, but Dubois is up 3 on the day. Movers and shakers, Lorenzo, not too many of them, but the ones who have made things work have been drivers that we've seen, like Alexander Van der Sant, being very impressive on the long run here.
Yeah, we got to put our eyes on Van der Sant towards the latter portion of the stint. Maybe when we get to 35, 36 laps, and we have a yellow flag.
Yellow flag back out. No, it's Alexis Newsom. It was so promising. And that's terminal damage straight down onto pit road. Let's go ahead and spool up our replay machine, see what happened. It was looking very good in terms of the strategy for Newsom. Is it contact with Amro? Yes, it is. Let's take a look at the aerial look at that one, Lorenzo. Not the best vantage point. Here they go, down the back straightaway. This is the good look, and maybe the car behind has an even better look. Not sure if you can pick up who it is. Let's see if we can.
I think that is, I was going to say maybe, it's a purple car. I really want to say it might be Chris Whittle.
It's not Wilhite because that would be purple and black, but Laura Gerhard at the very least should. It might be Eric Hunter. Yes, it is Eric Hunter. Let's see here.
Okay.
Over, under, and Newsom with a great run gets to the outside line here. And is it Amro? Ooh, I wonder if Newsom actually just pinches down a little too much there, Lorenzo. But the end result is a split strategy. Let's come back to live pictures because pit road is a very busy place. Matt Holloway leads a number of cars down onto the pit road. Henry Bennett in net second as it was. And this is a number of cars, Lorenzo, that hypothetically might be able to make it to the end from here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think someone who actually got benefited from this might be Laura Gerhardt because she was about on 64, 65 laps on her stint. So she was reaching the tail end of her fuel stint. And with a yellow flag, she can get new rubber, set herself up towards the rest of the field that has already about 6 effective laps on their cars in terms of burning rubber. So it's going to be a really interesting restart whenever we have that, I think, in about 2 laps time.
Who are the big winners? So like you say, Gerhard. Eric Hunter with a 13-second pit stop. I wonder if he took a little bit of damage from trying to escape the incident unfolding in front of him. Joe Lafilippe down on pit road this time around, getting some service there. 20 starters, we got 4 retirements, it would appear. In fact, count that down to 3 because Jason Brophy with those technical issues early on, still out there on track pounding around. He might actually finish, Lorenzo, in 16th position, which might not be terrible because Newsom, Amro, and Espety, I would assume in all 3 of those cases, the damage is going to be pretty terminal there.
It's going to be pretty much terminal, and if you spend the time in the pit lane, it's going to be about 20, 30 minutes in this race, right? So just by that, Brophy is going to say thank you very much, going to climb up. And for him, it's basically a recovery race, you know, just damage control in terms of iRating. He's going to lose iRating nevertheless. Number 6 car in this split. So it's all about, you know, how much iRating you really want to, you're really giving up to lose.
This is how we know this is the pit strategy call. Holloway leads the cars back down onto pit road to fill up one more time. Gerhard and Bennett, so 2 Powerslide Motorsports drivers, will cycle through. It does seem as though Henry Bennett might have got an end-of-line penalty, but it's not going to be too much of a factor, you would think then. We'll come back to green flag racing this time around because the lights are off on the iRacing.com sedan. Not sure how I feel about this new generic, I don't know what you'd call it, hybrid between various manufacturers, Lorenzo, but it's an interesting pace car, that's for sure.
It's an interesting one. I just hope we don't see that on Nürburgring this Saturday.
Oh, that's a good call. Not sure what Radio Show Limited is going to think about that one. You probably need the classic Porsche safety car, but this one's down on pit road, and Philip Kraus for the 3rd time today picks up the throttle. Back to green flag racing we come. Lichtenberg looks down the inside, doesn't get the move done. That will open the door potentially for Adam Blocker, but he did not get the best restart. Now look at this chaos. Robin Glennox fends off the challenge from Chris Wilhite. Tyler Dubois, Alexander Van der Sant in his mirrors, and then of course all the cars that came down onto pit road. Let's see what happens here because Henry Bennett actually has taken advantage of the situation with the whatever end-of-line penalty he had because He cycled out into 12th position, Lorenzo, the first of the cars that came back down onto pit road.
Yeah, he already made the move on Laura Gerhardt at the very opening of this restart, so moved up one spot, trying to chase Eric Hunter, but Eric looked very pacey, especially with that drop that he has about 0.5 of a second on Alexander Van der Sande.
Van der Sande trying to sneak down the inside of Dubois, but Dubois will power the outside line, almost cuts up into the wall. Not sure if there was slight contact there. Van der Sande up into 9th. He will say thank you very much and take that position. Dubois back down to the inside, though, as Van der Sande washes up the track, and they'll be side by side across the start-finish line. This is great stuff, and didn't necessarily see the most action in the first half of the race. And they did get close there, Lorenzo, but they just made it work. And Van der Sande just a hair in front and powers through into turn 3.
And now here comes Eric Hunter on the outside. Might be able to make the move on Tyler Dubois. So losing another spot is Dubois, now relegated into P11.
Nice little strategies, of course, because it's momentum that you're really jockeying for, Lorenzo. I think people just think it's about speed, but it's not. It's carrying momentum, finding the right ways to carry it as well. Andrew Marquez down to the inside might have found something on Adam Blocker right now.
Yeah, he might have. You know, he's been looking pacey through all restarts, applying major pressure on Adam Blocker, not letting the second guy at the second position in the standings go by. But you can see he doesn't go for those moves. He just lets Blocker know, I'm here, and whenever he made that mistake, I'm ready to move.
Oh, I think here it comes, though. Blocker washes up very slightly. The blue and white car, can he get it done? Oh, Blocker almost cuts him off, and in fact, I think has to wash up the track, and Marquez unable to take advantage, but almost contact between the two of them. That's allowed Brendan Lichtenberg to build a bit of a buffer up, as we'll take a look at the aerial coverage once more. Adam Crane trying to close down 0.7 of a second further back. And then if you jump to Henry Bennett and those gaggle of cars once more, trying to close in on the edge of the top 10. But I wonder, Lorenzo, if you're Henry Bennett on back, if you commit to the fuel saving now, as we see Marquez still trying to get the move done, maybe you consider that even if for whatever reason you can't get now moves done, at least on track, you know that strategy will cycle out in your favor.
Yeah, you might cycle out in the favor, and would it be a bad call, to be very honest with you, as we have a car out of the pit lane. That is Alexis Newsom. She's back on track on 11th place, so Jason Brophy is going to have some work to do to try to take that position back from Newsom.
I think there's some strategy in terms of just trying to get some points here, or maybe at least minimize the iRating loss, because I think that's something that far too many people, including myself, are guilty of, Lorenzo. You crash out of a race and then you don't stick around, see what the damage is like. You just get out of the session and move on to the next race. No. Minimize the iRating loss. Still go out there, be a participant in these races, because, of course, with this being the first race of a new week, there's not much time for these drivers to get up to speed and get the preparation under their belts, and it puts a bit of pressure on their shoulders.
Yeah, because all the preparation they have to do might be in test servers, or even try to, work with some other driver and then work it out on the track how to get a private server for the individuals, because this is the strength of field and this is the first race of the week. So if you don't come prepared for this, you're gonna be in a world of pain.
I do wonder, not revealing any secrets, I hope, but for the Power Slide Motorsports, Steve, just wondering if the positions 4th and 12th reflect the level of effort that's got into this race, Lorenzo, if you catch my drift here.
Oh my god. You're really trying to get yourself cooked out of a power slider, Gina?
No, I'm making excuses. The classic racing driver excuses on behalf of my teammates. That's what's really going on here. You're
kind of like taking one for the team as we speak.
I guess, but I'm not sure if they'll appreciate me revealing that so much, because we said it was busy, right? Lionheart's in action on Wednesday, where of course we will see Blocker and Bennett, Brophy, and company all in action, and that one is from Watkins Glen. That would be an interesting race as Sage Karam tries to make it 3 in a row. Then of course the iRacing IndyCar series, which a lot of people I think, enjoyed the return of last week. You saw some names returning to the Dallara IR18 that maybe haven't been in action so much over the past 4 months or so. The likes of Mark Usher and company enjoying the longer races strategy, very much a big part of that one. And then other leagues as well. ISOWC, of course, upcoming, Lorenzo. And what a field we've got for that. 50 drivers. The average I rating there, 5,707. 10 former or current iRacing World Championship competitors, including the iRacing Rallycross World Champion, Johan Harth.
Yeah, I was gonna poke fun at Johan and say, does he actually know how to do ovals? Because he's French and everything like that. But then again, we have a French guy in the IndyCar with Romain Grosjean. So hey, he can prove me wrong. Actually, he already proved me wrong because I think he actually disputed the top split last year of the 500, if I recall.
It's not just Romain Grosjean, by the way. You're forgetting some other French competitors in American Open Rule Racing over the years.
I just got the first out of my mind, actually.
But let's talk a little bit about the past race. We mentioned the chaos through turn 1 as we ride on board with Alexander van der Sant, now in 9th position, working lap 90 in this 150-lap race. But rookies, impressive performances up and down the field, Lorenzo. Jimmy Johnson, of course, not finishing last. I think that was his main goal there. Got back with relatively minor damages as well. But Grosjean in 10th, Scott McLaughlin in 14th. Pretty impressive debut, and both Grosjean and McLaughlin had been very quick over the weekend as well.
Yeah, very quick. I think McLaughlin actually led round 1 of the qualify, but unfortunately dropped a little bit back on round number 2, and I think was 12th place during round 2, and just couldn't capitalize on the momentum. And then Grosjean nearly going into that top 6, straight shootout for the pole position. I think it was 7 or something like that, but nevertheless, impressive outing out of the 3 drivers. All they kept on track, all they kept them clean, and some of the strategies worked out for them. Can't wait to see what they're going to do next in St. Petersburg.
And of course, the reason the iRacing IndyCar Series goes to Sebring is Sebring used as a test facility for the street tracks by many of the IndyCar teams. A rather fun little track for the IR18 to scamper around. ISOWC, God, I got to get better at pronouncing that without stumbling over myself. ISOWC does visit Sebring as well, so I'm excited about that. Jacob in the YouTube chat saying that Jimmy spun out right in front of us. The roller coaster got him. To be fair, I mean, I don't know about you, Lorenzo, but I can probably count on... I can't even count on 2 hands the number of times the roller coaster has caught me out. That is a vicious corner at the weight transfer as he crests over the hill trying to get the power down, and has caught out some of the best, both in the real and the virtual worlds.
Yeah, I think we even saw that in last week, right? With some of the drivers going up in the first curbing and just losing total control on the second half, which is the bottom part of the corkscrew, and then again, just playing tricks is a very hard corner for you to come in. It's so blind. I think it is even more blind than the Laguna Seca corkscrew of sorts. So, and it has a higher degree angle of turn. So I would say it's more tricky than Laguna Seca. So if you can get that right, major props. I can.
Well, I'll be honest. I don't necessarily find the corkscrew so much of a challenge. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. And the feeling when you drop down and you the speed that you...
The roller coaster for me has a problem, though. Because it is a blind left side entry, and then you have already to commit to the right-hand side and avoid clipping the grass on the uphill part of the exit of the turn.
Well,
so there's a tricky one.
There's tricks as well that you can use at the corkscrew. I remember being told there's a specific tree that you should spot as you come down so you know when to turn back to the right. And as soon as I found it on the iRacing service, that's been my marker, as it were, since then. And it's been ingrained in my memory. So I find that one easy. I mean, braking is what it is. You just find the right reference for the car that you're in. You can go very late on the brakes in an IndyCar because it's uphill as well, but you don't want to lock the inside front. I don't know. The roller coaster is tricky. I would say, though, Mid-Ohio, Thunder Valley there is just as tricky as Barber, at least for me. NTT IndyCar Series, it has that interesting mix, right? We've got these short ovals as Van der Sant all the way down to the apron once more. You've got the short ovals. They're going to Texas later this year as well, the 1.5 milers, which we'll go to next Monday. The big ovals, the Indianapolis Motor Speedways, and then the streets, the road courses, the various road courses we have. Road America and Barber are very different tracks, Lorenzo. I really feel like your NTT IndyCar champion, and then by virtue your iRacing IndyCar Open champion on the iRacing service, very much are some of the most versatile drivers that you can find in motorsport.
Absolutely, because you can actually work through things. Jokes aside, you can actually turn, jokes including, you can actually turn right instead of turning left the entire time. So, but it's amazing what they do, right? It's basically, handling the G's and all these tricky corners, right? Because I think the United States has a combo of tracks that is rarely seen on the other parts of the globe, right? The majority of the tracks are kind of like flat. In the United States, you have those roller coaster-esque tracks, Coda, Barber, Willow Springs, and then the list goes on. So it's a very dynamic track scope for the majority of the drivers, as we're still looking with this battle between. Now we got Henry Bennett back again, but still very interesting race so far as we're approaching towards the last portion of the train, and Holybaugh not being able to close on Bennett.
Well, the important thing here is there's Philip Kraus, there's Henry Bennett. It doesn't matter if you are good on fuel to the end. Let's remind everyone, left side of the screen, how long it's been since the cars last came down onto the pit road. Bennett on back, likely to be good. Eric Hunter might be towing the line because he didn't come down a second time in the pit window. But at the end of the day, Lorenzo, if you fall that far off the pace, you fall out of contention to fight for the win even on strategy. So not sure if there's fuel saving on the mind of Bennett because, of course, fuel maps are very much now a thing for this IR18. Yeah. But I would start to be concerned if I start to see that pink and black machine looming in my rearview mirrors.
Yeah, I would be very concerned as well, because the one thing you really don't want to be is the wave around right towards the latter portion of the race. That is going to throw a wrench in your whole race. You might have to go full pace, and it would come really close, as he's probably going to lap. There is a car on the outside that Philip Kraus just makes worse, but that is Diego Pereño that he actually overtakes. And again, Bennett, I would throw a yellow alert for Henry Bennett, to be very honest with you.
Yeah, Bennett must be just begging and praying for some sort of caution to come out right now. Has been pretty good, I must say, because other than that one caution that we've had, everyone's managed to leave each other enough space. Great little wing shot that we get here as Kraus closes on now Matt Holybaugh in the white, brown and green as he looks to the outside. This is not what Kraus will be hoping for, as Hollybaugh's trying to get the move done as well, Lorenzo. Blue flags always something we like to talk about. Kraus, though, doesn't want to talk about them. He just slings it down the inside. I think makes life difficult for Henry Bennett as Holybaugh down the inside as well.
Yeah, and losing one spot from Holybaugh, and it just becomes a nightmare scenario for Bennett, right? You have Adam Blocker in P4. You are P13, one lap back from the lead. You don't have the wave around right now, and you're comfortable to Laura Gerhardt, 1.6 seconds. But then again, it throws a whole wrench in your whole planning in this race, and I think Adam Blocker just needs to maintain that car on track.
So, Cool Guy 3, who I've now confirmed, I very much know who he is. I won't reveal it, but what the concern is for me now, Lorenzo, he's gotten one lap down about halfway through this run, right? We came back to green at, what, lap 70, 70-something? Take this through another half a stint, or however long, half a race. At the pace that Kraus is going, he'll be 2 laps clear. And we saw the pit lane time. It's about 30 seconds, even if you have a little bit of damage. That's only 1 lap. So even if Bennett is good to the end, he's reliant on a caution to bring him back into contention.
Last flag came on lap 66. So if you're throwing all the way down into mode 5, which is full fuel saving mode on race pace.
Well, he was 1.1 seconds slower the last time around, Lorenzo.
So yeah, it basically shows you're going for the mega save. You're going for that commitment, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys go for the courageous 70, maybe 72-ish stint, but then again, it's cutting it close.
I always say this. It's a constant refrain. There's a reason I'm not a strategy, guys. Oh, look at this gaggle of cars. Brendan Lichtenberg on back, working their way through the lap traffic. Here comes Andrew Marquez trying to take advantage. Oh, slipping and sliding they go, but no positions changed just yet. Working lap 115 out of 150, Lorenzo. It is starting to get more racy through the traffic.
Yeah, and you can see already Marquez going on the inside of Adam Blocker once again, side by side. There they go. There's a little bit of advantage on the Blocker on the exit, and then Marquez had to lift off the gas and let the Blocker go through.
He's trying, though. He is committed to trying to find a way past. Oh, I just wonder if you're at the point now, do a bit of fuel saving, Lorenzo. He's clearly got a very quick car. Why not just try and get this cycled through on the strategy, as he has to get checked up as Henry Bennett all the way to the outside on the outside line up against the wall. Henry Bennett, I'm just trying to figure out what the strategy is for one of the cars that can make it. Matt Hollowbo, 2.2 seconds now clear of Bennett. They are very much trading lap times back and forth. Bennett was 7/10 quicker that last time around. Hollowbo is now the one who's lost 1.2 seconds. I wonder, Lorenzo, if it's just all of this craziness through the traffic. As you see Crane, Wilhite, Van der Sant all stringing down the inside. It's a bit crazy out on track. It's too wide, too deep. They still run.
Yeah, the problem is for Hollowbo, he actually lost that second because he was letting cars go by on traffic. So, you know, lifting off the gas, trying to take a safer line and losing time in the process is a little bit costly. So that's why he lost a little bit of pace on the other drivers. And but there might be a few saving over there as well. But all right, here's the thing. Arjuna, the full mega save is active because Bennett just lost the position to Laura Gerhardt.
This is just me in silence trying to do the math, because he lost 2 seconds to Philip Kraus that time around.
Yeah.
I can't say I understand what's going on right now, but who knows? It will cycle out the way it's meant to cycle out. On board with Van der Sant as he's tucked up behind Chris Wilhite, as there is now a gaggle of cars that is formed up behind the hyperstar Brendan Lichtenberg. Look from the rearward shot from the i5G driver. It is about 0.8 of a second back to Blocker, who's got Marquez in his rearview mirror, but then Adam Crane, Robin Glenix, Chris Wilhite, Alexander Van der Sant. There's only 3 or 4 seconds, Lorenzo, separating 7 cars in the top 10.
Yeah, and so you're still not out of the safe range, right? So you still have to push. You still have to commit every single lap. You cannot give any leeway to let any other cars come close. So fuel saving, you might go for the fuel save, but it's not going to be a conservative fuel save like Henry Bennett is doing. You might go maybe to mode 3, maybe mode 4-ish, and then save a little bit of fuel, but you still have to keep those other cars at bay.
Eric Hunter then the first car to blink. Last time on pit road for him. Seems like fresh tires as well as a full tank of fuel. Left side once more. Let's show the last pit stop lap. That will give a bit of a better indication, I think, so you can get that sense of what the differences are as well. 62 for Kraus, 72 for Hollowbo. It doesn't sound like much, but it really is. Van der Sant, the next one, who comes down straight into his pit box, and from the edge of the top 10, maybe trying a bit of an undercut, fresh tires, more fuel though. What can he do? Side by side, 3 wide through traffic as Marquez tries to get down the inside through turn 3. Don't think he was able to get the run. Blocker will still fight this one back on the outside line. Through 1 and 2 now. Marquez tried to slide up the track. Blocker gave him the space. And Andrew Marquez, Lorenzo, up into 4th position.
Up to 4 after, Beanie. It looks like you're beating on a dead horse, but it finally paid off. And Blocker just trailed off back and had to let Adam Crane go through. So Adam Blocker, the P2 in the championship standings, struggling hard with this latter portion of the stint.
To Blocker down into 6th then as he gets shuffled back. Van der Sant, where is he shuffled out in the lap traffic? Right behind Matt Hollabo, 1.8 seconds. That gives an indication to the rest of the field where they're going to come out, because of course Hollabo now the leading car who has not come down onto pit road. He is doing a heavy fuel save, and Alexander Van der Sant already is going to cycle through on him. So I think the indication then, Lorenzo, is it's not the fuel save that's going to work here. It's the go all out approach that's working, and Philip Kraus 4 seconds clear of the number 1 machine.
Yeah, it's the, I don't know if it is the best call, because there's still traffic, there's still few factors that we can still be contending, because some of the drivers are still battling. Like if you look at Chris Whittle and also Rob Bungard, you can see they're still battling out at 3 and 4, and you can see Whittle being a little bit more aggressive with the engine and trying to go for that move on 27, and Dubois as well.
Van der Sant on fresh tires is 1 lap down, but can't afford to lose too much time behind Dubois, Wilhite, and Glenix. Down into turn 3, he goes to the high line. Look at the momentum that he rips. Gets past Dubois, very simply done there. Now uses the draft. He'll try and tuck up behind Wilhite, coming down in through turn 1. Uses the clean air, does the same thing, Lorenzo. Look at the confidence on display from the number 14 car.
Yeah, just, you know, cruising past every single car without a problem. And on the outside, where you have basically less grip than the inside part of the field, and is basically going to make you clean work Unganex as they're going to go into turn number 1 in a short bit.
So 20 laps to go then, and they're really ticking away as strategy is starting to cycle itself out. Philip Kraus across the line once more, gap down to 3 seconds to... How do we say his name? Lorenzo, I tried to get you to help me at the start, but
Adriano Pinheiro.
And I've been butchering it every single time in this broadcast. And I'm
Andrew
sure
Marquez in the pits.
Oh, Marquez down. So that's an indication then for the rest of the top 5. A 10 car, where will he cycle out? This is crucial. If he can find clean air. Philip Kraus down onto pit road as well. These are the money stops, Lorenzo. We saw Espity making the mistake and speeding. Blocker down on pit road as well. These drivers can't afford to do the same.
No, they cannot afford to do mistakes, as we have Marquez just coming out of the pit lane, and Philip Kraus is nearly done with his pit stop. So he's going to come out, but still Pinheiro, Lichtenberg, Adam Crane, Chris Whittle, Unganex still on the track, and Tyler Dubois as well, still battling it out.
So where did Kraus cycle out? 7th position. How much clean air? Plenty of it as well. That is very, very important. Adam Blocker, he's got a crucial undercut coming. He cycled out right in the midst of traffic. There is Glenix and Dubois in front of him, still squabbling it out with the worn tires and the light fuel tanks. Blocker immediately up to speed as Glenix down onto pit road. No, excuse me. That was Chris Wilhite down onto pit road. 3 wide. Blocker has nowhere to go. Here comes the race leader. Where is he going to cycle out in relation to Philip Kraus, Lorenzo?
It's gonna be key. You know, I was just looking at Adam Blocker trying to make a move on a back marker.
Philip Kraus is well and truly clear. Here comes the number 1 car. I don't think he's even got to look in his rearview mirrors. We've got to wait for Lichtenberg, who's down on the lane this time around, as we see Chris Wilhite off the lane as well. The money stop, 15 laps to go, 15 miles as well at one of the oldest tracks in all of motorsports. Philip Kraus cycles through. Dubois now down onto pit road as well. There goes the number 1 car, so he cycles up into 2nd. Here comes Lichtenberg off of pit road, Lorenzo.
Unganex as well going into the pit lane, and the only car on track still hasn't pitted from that top 8 is Adam Crane. So
look at this, Lorenzo. Alexander Van der Sant has undercut this race to perfection, up 11 positions on the day, and as Glenix comes down onto pit road, he's up into the top 5 after starting all the way back in 17th position.
Yeah, and not far behind Brendan Lichtenberg, about 0.6 of a second. He can use that draft and apply some pressure on Lichtenberg.
Blocker has lost out. He's down in 7th. This is not ideal, but here comes Adam Crane down onto pit road. Has the overcut worked out for the iRacing IndyCar Championship winner in 2020? There goes Blocker. And Crane, who of course was very sideways in the opening stint of the race, cycles out in 7th, down 3 on the day, but I guess things could be so much worse. Battle to keep our eyes on then with 12 laps to go. First up, it's for third on back as Alexander Van der Sant searches for a podium position here from the Milwaukee Mile. And then Lorenzo, we've got an interesting gaggle of cars forming up behind Henry Bennett. So a fuel-saving game for Bennett. He's now got to defend from the likes of Eric Hunter and Matt Hollabo behind.
Yeah, so battle for P11. Also, we got a possible battle for P8 and P9. P8 and cycle back all the way down to P10 because Chris Whittle is not far behind from Tyler Dubois, about a second, and he's kind of closing. Onganek's actually about 0.6 of a second for the P9 and P8 positions.
I don't think Henry Bennett has much to fight at this point in time, both in terms of tires and fuel. He'll concede to Eric Hunter down into 12th for the championship leader coming into this race. That is important. Back up to the edge of the top 5, Andrew Marquez, who had cycled through on Adam Blocker, now finds Alexander Van der Sant blocking his view of a potential podium finish here. Lichtenberg 1.5 seconds clear of Van der Sant. Got 10 laps to go at the line. Here comes Marquez looking to the inside of Van der Sant. Car is looking very tired at this point. 17 lap all tires, 18 at the line. Andrew Marquez down the inside up into 4th, Lorenzo.
Yeah, easy work for Andrew Marquez. You know, those 8 lap newer tires is just making a whole lot of work for Andrew Marquez, and Van der Sant not having any pace to work with, but still respectable let's just say respectable P5 out of Alexander Van der Sant, undercutting basically the entire top 8.
They are almost contact between the two Adams. They were ducking and diving down that main straightaway, but Adam Crane sweeps around the outside up into the 6th position. Adam Blocker, unfortunately, then finds himself in 7th. He'll need a better result later this week, you'd think, to keep his title quest alive. 3 seconds is the gap between Philip Kraus and the number 1 car. I'm almost scared to say his name at this point, Lorenzo, because I know I'm going to say it wrong.
Pinheiro.
I feel like I'm been saying it wrong.
You get it. I'll let you know. Like, until Indy, you're going to get it.
Oh, well, I have my own hopes about competing at Indy. We are only a couple of weeks away from getting into the month of May, Lorenzo. It's such an exciting time just for the teams, for the community, building up preparation, working towards qualifying. The all-important day, May 22nd, the iRacing Indy 500, as Brandon Traino looks to win 3 in a row.
I'm kind of sad, you know. Why they don't make it on the 20th night?
Because
it's my birthday. Well, it's my birthday. Just make it on my birthday.
Isn't the real race on the 29th, Lorenzo?
It is? I'm so far out of, in terms of knowledge. It is on 30th.
Yes, no, that's what I meant. I meant that weekend. Sorry, excuse me.
Oh, yeah, it is on the weekend. All right, then you're correct.
Okay, well, at the end of the day, Lorenzo, they're not going to just acquiesce to your whims, but I'm sure Roger Penske, if you give him a call, might listen. Couple of laps to go here from the Milwaukee Mile. It's been almost lights the flag victory for Philip Kraus. We haven't really talked about him, Lorenzo, and I think that's probably what he would have hoped for at a race at the Milwaukee Mile. Only 1 caution, and it's been relatively stress-free for the Team Talent driver. Yeah,
Kraus just had a really good last week at Barber, and again, he's showing up why the Team Talent driver is a candidate to look for in the ISOWC in a few weeks. And again, what a dominant showing from Philip Kraus, basically keeping everybody at bay and not giving any chance to contend for the victory.
Well, unfortunately for Kraus, the ISOWC doesn't have any short ovals on its calendar. I'm sure I'm going to be inundated with requests from the Team Talent members at the conclusion of this race, because 150 miles, only 1 caution on the day here from the Milwaukee Mile, one of the oldest speedways in operation across the globe, and it is Team Talent's Philip Kraus. Pole position and victory as well. Dominant display in a race he very much controlled from the start. No real challenges to speak of. And it was just strategy at the end of the day that we kept our eyes out on. Across the line in 2nd is Pinarino in the number 1 car. Lichtenberg, the hyperstar, he holds on for a very impressive 3rd place. Van der Sant loses out at the line to Adam Crane for Satellite Racing. But with that undercut, he was always going to be weaker later in the run. Now up 11 positions on the day, very much our hardest charger. But Lorenzo, the short track produced some interesting racing to say the very least. And next week, the Texas Motor Speedway, it will be just as difficult to pass. I wonder how the drivers will approach it. How many cautions will we see from the Lone Star State?
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race because it is much faster than this track. That is 100%. You get about 30 seconds on the lap, and one of the things will be more in effect than here will be the aero push. So you're going to have to do some adjustments on the weight jackers and the anti-roll bar, more aggressive than you probably did here in Milwaukee, so you can actually keep that car on track and then try to ward the draft towards the latter portion. But yeah, you said it also. Overtakes will be quite kind of difficult. I think strategy for the pit lane will have some funky ones. I can't wait to see it.
Some nice little burnouts there from the race winner, and hopefully we'll get some post-race interviews underway in just a few moments' time. Let's go ahead then and take a look at the final race result. Just one caution on the day. Fastest lap set on lap 141 by BRS Satellite Racing driver of Adam Crane. 22.006. Very quick there, especially compared to the last lap time for your race leader at 22.506. Philip Kraus with victory. 2 seconds the gap to the Brazilian in the number 1 car. Not as close as I think he would have hoped it would have been, Kraus, but nevertheless, victory and working his way through traffic at the very end. The Hyperstar Brendan Lichtenberg completes the podium, 6.3 seconds adrift, with Andrew Marquez in 4th. Adam Crane recovering up the field in towards the 5th spot, with Van der Sant. Impressive undercut attempted in the final stages of this race, slips down to 6th in the number 14. Adam Blocker in 7th, Tyler Dubosch in 8th, Chris Wilhite in 9th, and Robin Glennox rounding out the top 10 in the all-blue number 15. Eric Hunter for the number 17, 1 lap down. Henry Bennett, disappointing day for the championship leader, as the point situation might swing back in the favor of Adam Blocker as he looks to reclaim his throne. Matt Hollabo for All-American iRacers with Gonzalez Motorsports, 13th position. Powerslide Motorsports, 2 drivers, 12th and 14th respectively. Joe Lafilippe for number 20 car, the only car to finish 2 laps down. Diego Pereno, Arturo Amro, Alexis Newsom, Jason Brophy, and then Austin Espity round out our 20-car field. And let's dive straight into our post-race interviews. We've got the race winner from Team Talent in the number 3 car, and Lorenzo Bonder is standing by.
Yeah, so I have Philip Kraus over here, and Philip, what a dominant effort over here in this track today. The short ovals, unfortunately, we were talking about here, me and Arjuna, there will be no short ovals in the ISLWC, but a win like this must feel good for you, especially with a tightly contested championship as we go into the second half of the season. Philip?
Sorry, I had to push the talk map. That's my bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it always feels good to win on these short ovals. I've always gone pretty well here. It obviously really depends on where you qualify to how well you do on a short oval, but always really enjoyed them. They're really fun to race, and honestly, it's probably my favorite way to race these cars outside of the road courses. The speedways, not so much, but I really like the short ovals.
Right on. And how much? This is one of the things I was actually really curious about. How many adjustments in the car, like in terms of weight jackers and ARBs, you had to do it to try to maintain the car as competitive as you maintained throughout this race?
You were having to mess with the tools lap by lap. It wasn't too extreme on the bars, but the weight jacker was pretty fluid the entire race. You were changing it every 2-3 laps at the longest intervals, but it was usually every other lap.
Right on. And then we get out of the short oval, then we go to a more lengthy oval. We go straight on to Texas. And what kind of preparations do you think will be needed to go for a track like Texas, which is, it has some similarities in terms of the draft, but in terms, I think, racing, it has some different scopes that you have to prepare for.
It's definitely one of the most unique ovals you have to set up for, because outside of like Motegi, which is more so a short oval than a big oval, but Texas, you're pretty limited in turn 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4, it's more of a pack race if you like keep it close through 1 and 2, but 1 and 2 is really difficult to follow in, and I know in the elite race, we ran it earlier this season. A lot of guys were really struggling out of turn 2 for traction because they were pushing through 1 and 2 the entire corner, and then off of 2 they just snapped a little bit. It was pretty wild to watch, and I think everyone was dealing with it, so I wouldn't be surprised if in Open we're going to be dealing with the same thing again.
Fair enough. And before we let you go, Philip, and celebrate the win with the rest of the boys, anybody want to give you any shout-outs to watching the broadcast?
Just a big thanks to the Team Talent boys. They've welcomed me with open arms, and it's been a joy to work with them.
Well, Philip, again, congratulations on the win. Can't wait to see what you're going to be doing on the Texas Oval Speedway in about a week.
Thank you.
Matthew or Juno?
So, Philip Kraus, victory today. Car looked very, very settled, I must say. I must feel pretty good heading into the month of May as setup work very much at the forefront of drivers' minds. Second interview to get to. Doesn't look like the Brazilian is going to join us here today, but the hyperstar Brendan Lichtenberg from Team i5G, podium position there, and Lorenzo Bonder, why don't you take it away?
So let's go with the hyperstar Brendan Lichtenberg. I think the chat is going to love your performance here thus far. P3 had to keep Andrew Marquez and Adam Blocker at one point that day, but it must give you a really confidence boost heading into then week 7, which will be in Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, particularly, Blocker and Marquez were keeping me honest. Adriano is keeping me honest. This is a very tough race. The passing was limited. It was really all down to driver. This effectively drives like a road course. It's not really a coincidence. People like Nigel Mansell, won his first oval race here. So sometimes counter-steering a corner, but it made for really fun driving.
And talking about actually counter-steering, one of the things that we were talking about is in terms of it is the car angle in terms of turn-in. How much did you have to do any tire savings, or I know fuel saving you had to do some fuel saving, but how much tire saving did you have to do to try to keep that car honest and effective throughout the entire race?
Oh, I didn't mean to tire save. I just feel like I was running too tight in traffic, so therefore just lifting and less wheel input. But I guess it worked out at the end because I was certainly pulling a gap by the end, not so much in the middle. It was pretty tough running in traffic, but at the last stint I had a good 3.5 second buffer to kind of work with, and that could kind of back the car up even more for the corner, so it worked out eventually.
And we were talking to Philip, and I relayed the same question to you. We go to Texas, very different speedway. Of course, there is the draft, and they were talking about the cars, snapping its rear end towards the later portions of the race on turn number 2. What kind of preparation do you think will be necessary for you and Team i5 to get to this race and be competitive?
We've got a pretty good baseline. We've run here before a couple of weeks ago, and our teammate Chris won, so probably talk to him like I do for most weeks anyway for advice. So he'll probably give me a good idea of what to expect, and I think we'll have a pretty good piece for next week.
All right, and Brendan, before I let you go, man, anybody want to give any shout-outs to the broadcast? I think there are some fans you can give a few shout-outs on the YouTube chat who are supporting it.
Yeah, just thanks to the i5G fans who are there. And I also want to pull Scott Prude and say hi to my family.
All right, Brendan, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. We can see what you're going to be doing in 1 week time at the Lone Star Speedway.
Can't wait for it. Thanks.
All right, back to you, Arjuna.
What a race, Lorenzo. I mean, when you come to a short track like this, you don't always expect the same sort of chaos that sometimes you see on the bigger ovals, but strategy, we saw some great wheel-to-wheel action as well. Setups at the forefront of drivers' mind. It has it all, and next time out we do head, like you said, to the Lone Star State and the Texas Motor Speedway for a 2-week swing that takes us first to the oval, then to the Circuit of the Americas, and a track where track limits will be, I'm sure, of a concern to some drivers. And then the final 4 races heading into the month of May. It's going to be great, and I love this. I'm so excited. You get Belle Isle to round things off, and if we've got a championship fight on the streets of Detroit, Lorenzo, I mean, anything can happen. It really will be anyone's game.
it will be really anybody's game, especially a bumpy track that takes no prisoners, no runoffs whatsoever. If you miss one corner at bailout is one thing, wall and race over, and possible a big one. So if you can maintain all the way down into it, I'm probably going to say Atlanta Motor Speedway, and you can keep it honest with a good relative cushion towards your opponent, maybe in the top 5, maybe top 3, you might have a really good shot coming to bail out, and then just let chance play its part.
Well, that's going to be it here once more on a Monday night. Championship implications being that looks like Adam Blocker might be working his way back towards the front, but it will be a fight between Henry Bennett and Adam Blocker, the inter-team powerslide rivalry, as Bennett looks for his 6th iRacing IndyCar Open Championship, and Adam Blocker looks to regain his throne. I believe it would be his 9th iRacing IndyCar Championship. Just illustrates the dominance that the team has enjoyed in these official competitions in the last couple of years. Just a reminder as well, lots more sim racing action, not just today, but across the entire week here to come on RaceSpotTV. Later, Lionheart Speedway Series in action from the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway, and this coming Wednesday, the Lionheart IndyCar Series heads to the virtual Watkins Glen. You can stay in touch with us at RaceSpotTV across of YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram. And if you're not already subscribed to us on YouTube, hit the button and the bell next to it to get notified every single time we go live with a great sim racing series we get to cover. We'll be back in 1 week's time from the Lone Star State for a 2-week swing that takes us first to the Texas Motor Speedway and then to the Circuit of the Americas for what should be a very intriguing race. Strategy always going to be on the cards for these type of races, and you can catch it all live, uninterrupted, on RaceSpotTV. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. I've been joined by the wonderful Lorenzo Bondo for today's coverage. For the team at RaceSpotTV, lots more action to come this week, and we'll see you for all of it here live on YouTube.